All right, we have been listening to Al Sharpton. He is surrounded by the family of George Floyd and their attorney, Ben Crump, deliver remarks after the verdict that was announced today, finding Derek Chauvin guilty on all three charges. The jury deliberated for about 10 hours before reaching that verdict. They did not ask any questions and unanimously decided that Derek Chauvin was guilty on all of those counts.
Yeah, News 6 legal analyst Stephen Kramer joins us now from the newsroom. And Steve, you told us earlier the difference between this case and all the other cases that we've seen in the past was that 9-minute video.
Absolutely, absolutely. And frankly, the way the prosecutor handled this case. So in a typical prosecution for murder like the one we saw, you might see an expert, a couple of experts. Here we saw the prosecution spare no expense. They flew in experts from around the country. You know, they really put on a very comprehensive trial. You're bringing in witnesses, bringing in fellow officers, bringing in expert witnesses, and even bringing in some of the children that saw what happened.
Yeah, and Steve, we know that there are 3 other officers charged in connection with George Floyd's death. So what does this verdict potentially mean for their cases?
Well, if I'm their attorney, I'm telling them to prepare, because this is a bad sign of what's to come. Of course, you know, Derek Chauvin was clearly, you know, the easiest person to charge and convict in this case because he's the subject of that video being the best testimony, the best evidence in the case, and he's center stage on that video in a way that was inexcusable for the jury and frankly has been inexcusable throughout the country for the last year.
Steve, we saw Reverend Al Sharpton talking about next steps, maybe federal law changing. What kind of changes do you think that this could have on policing, both locally or federally?
Well, you know, I think that both the civil payout and this criminal case should have an impact and give officers and police departments around the country pause. So, of course, there was a civil payout for $27 million to the family of George Floyd. That's not a small amount of money for a city to pay out in a death case. And when there's a financial consequence, people take notice. And when there's a criminal consequence, people take notice. And there's been an erosion of faith in law enforcement around the country. So, you know, what we hope to see is law enforcement bridging the gap, rebuilding ties with communities, taking action to go ahead and reconnect and rebuild trust, because this case and others like it have undermined that trust. And I think the verdict here restored some faith of many people, but this has been a challenge.
Stephen Kramer, News 6 legal analyst, thank you so much. Of course, we'll continue to follow this breaking news story right here on News 6 and always on the homepage of clickorlando.com as well.